Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our town hall tonight, where we're going to be talking about post-conference blues, which I know I have definitely been feeling post-conference. And this is something for everyone. If you attended the conference in person, if you attended virtually, and even if you didn't attend, I think we all feel the blues when sometimes feeling separated in person from community. So we're going to be chatting about that, as well as ways to stay connected in the OCD community. But before we jump in with our awesome panelists from lots of different places, we have 4 different time zones just here, like on the stream, which is so cool. International, very cool.
Yeah.
But would love as people pop in if you would say hello, tell us where you are from, and we usually ask a fun question at the beginning. And every time I get on, I'm like, I did not prepare a fun question, and now my mind is going blank of one that I haven't asked. So I'm going to call out to the group. Do any of y'all have a fun question that we could ask as folks come into the chat?
Well, we asked in our group favorite Olympic sport, which can include opening and closing ceremonies, we'll say, as a sport.
Okay, favorite Olympic sport, y'all, in the as you come in. And hi, Tegan. Hi, Alistair. Favorite Olympic sport. And we'll go around and have our panelists do this too, as everybody comes in and shares their favorite Olympic sport. So Andrew, your question, I'll let you get us started here.
So people who follow me on social know my current sport is disc golf, which has not made it to the Olympics. But before that, my sport of choice was rock climbing and bouldering. So I'm really excited to see lead climbing and bouldering in the Olympics.
This is the first year, right?
It was in last time, but they changed the category a bit because Olympics didn't quite understand how rock climbing works. And so they had all 3 different disciplines all at once. And we're like, no, people who do speed climbing are very different. It's like having a sprinter and a marathon runner do it. Yeah, I don't know. But they figured it out, and I'm excited.
I love that. That's awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Lee, do you have a favorite Olympic sport?
I do. So for those who don't know me, because I haven't been on these before, so I'm Lee. I'm from Perth in Western Australia, where it's 7 o'clock in the morning, hence the damp hair, because self-care, sleep in. And my favourite Olympic sport is the swimming. I used to do a lot of swimming, and I kick my legs while I'm watching it. But I must say, when I was on a long flight coming back from the conference, it was an ideal time to watch the US women's gymnastics team doing their team stuff, which was amazing. And I did catch a glimpse of some speed rock climbing last night, and it was incredible.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you, Lee. Thank you. And I think you have some friends in the chat who also love gymnastics. Tegan, loving the gymnastics. All of it. And again, as folks pop in, would love to have you say hello and tell us if you have a favorite Olympic sport in summer. How about you?
I really like volleyball. Watching volleyball is a lot of fun, especially women's volleyball. And I would say, though, my favorite sports are esports. I like to play video games competitively. I've played the trading card game competitively, and I hear there is some discussion about playing about esports coming into the Olympics, so I'm really excited about that.
I had heard that, actually. That would be super cool. Summer, maybe you will be our IOCDF Olympian in the future.
That would be amazing.
That would be so cool. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
As I will just say, as I would consider us, and in many spaces we are considered, having a disability. I encourage everyone to be allies and watch the Paralympics when they come up. They are very cool. Lots of great sports, and they are excellent, top shape athletes as well. So
one of my friends from school is a flag bearer for Australia for the Australian Paralympic team. And he has won 3 gold medals in kayaking. So he's a really remarkable person. And I know that everybody that is a, Paralympian, they're incredible. So absolutely tune in.
I love that. I'm so glad that you brought that up, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you. So important and amazing. And I'm looking at the chat, Amy, Alex, and I see figure skating. I think, I always look forward to the Winter Olympics and watching figure skating too. And it's something that always baffles me because I have zero balance. Like most of these sports actually baffle me because it's kind of amazing.
Oh, but we know yours, running. You can run a long
Running,
time.
yeah, 10,000%. I see Alistair with the esports summer. So you have some friends there as well who are cheering that on. Gymnastics, rock climbing, bike racing. Thank you. Yeah. Summer and Matt, you may have to have that conversation. It says we need an IOCDF esports league.
I know Matt is working on
That would be amazing.
SIG, or I think the SIG is already up, Matt. Maybe he can put more in the chat. Thanks for being here, Matt. Yeah, lots of great comments here already.
I love this. And yes, GH, yeah, I'm an ultra marathoner. So I'm a former triathlete. So I raced competitive short course triathlon for a long time. And then Ironman, and then got into ultra. But before that, I was a collegiate track runner and cross country runner too. So I watch all the endurance stuff. I am glued to track. I'm glued to marathon. I'm glued to triathlon. I'm glued to cycling. I'm glued to swimming. And I think probably get a little over invested when I see people get crushed at the finish. I get like emotional and it takes me back to some tough places. Oh, Melina, you've done a 70.3. I'm curious
Wow.
what it was. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
I used to do competitive swimming and rowing when I was sort of all throughout school and then a little bit after. And every now and again, I will watch people rowing when I'm doing something in the morning and I'm thinking, oh, it's a beautiful morning, the weather's gorgeous, the water's flat. And then every now and again, I'll see them flip into the water and go, I remember that. And then I remember the really cold feet and the blisters on my hands. So I'll just watch for now.
Yeah. But yeah, those that are just joining, when you check in, just put in what your favorite Olympic sport is. Or I think
and Vibe SIG with Matthew.
I was going to say, I was going to highlight that, and then I'll get over to our disclaimer so we can jump in. But yeah, Summer, I wanted to make sure you saw that too. Yeah, Game and Vibe SIG, and anybody listening who wants to be a part of that sounds awesome. Matt
and I have been talking about that gaming SIG, and I'm super excited for it.
I know that John Grayson and Patrick McGrath really enjoy their online gaming. So, Matt, I'm sure you've lined them up for that. It's going to be hilarious.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing with us and for sharing more about you. I see roller skating, all the things, and excited just to kind of be here in community tonight. And I've seen some folks already posting that they're coming off the conference. They love seeing folks. I know, Brooke, it was so good to meet you in Orlando. And we're having this tonight just to really connect in community, because it can be kind of hard following that time when we're all together, connecting on things related to OCD and just life like this. So as we get in, I do want to note that this live stream is educational and is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please work with your provider or contact a local clinician. You can use the IOCDF's online resource directory at iocdf.org/find-help to locate a trained clinician near you. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. If you are feeling suicidal or unsafe, or if you're in crisis, please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. You can also access online at www.988lifeline.org. Go to your local emergency room or call 911. We want to create a safe space. We want to be kind and respectful to absolutely everyone, because at the end of the day, we are all here to support one another. So a note that this is being recorded. It's being broadcast on several social media platforms. So we want to just be mindful of that as we comment, and always be respectful of one another, because we're here tonight in community to connect. So we'd love to dive in just first. Oh, and Matt, looks like John and Patrick are most welcome to join. So that's, I'm sure they will be excited to hear that. I love that.
Oh, and hi from Ireland, Nikki.
Nikki! We've been telling Nikki that we're going to visit Ireland for years. So Nikki, that is still on the bucket list.
Hey, I have some behind the scenes news that's not quite official yet, but maybe Nikki and Katie can help it out. But OCD Ireland, myself and an advocate out of Limerick are working on an OCD walk in Dublin this fall. So details to come. Yeah.
That is awesome. That's really, really awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
And I see, GH, so glad you got to meet Ethan, and glad that folks got to meet so many different folks on their recovery. And I want you to get to meet, before we kind of dive into this topic, the people here tonight. And usually we start off by reading kind of quote unquote official bios and all of that stuff. And I think tonight's a little bit more about community. And I would love to just go around and have each awesome human here from a different part of the globe share a little bit more about who they are, about their OCD journey, and about their advocacy and kind of the things that they're doing. So I'll reverse it this time. And Summer, I'll start with you. Would love to hear a little bit more about you and your advocacy.
Hello, I'm Summer, and I am living in San Diego, California with my husband. I was born here, but I spent most of my life in Arizona. Grew up in the Phoenix area where it's very hot, as all of you know. And I discovered the IOCDF through Jeff Bell's memoir, Rewind, Replay, Repeat. And that book was instrumental in my recovery and seeing the thought process behind the OCD cycle. And that book really opened my eyes to how severe and debilitating my OCD was, that I was very symptomatic at the time. And I have now found my way to advocacy, and it has been a long journey, a very exciting one, however. And I have been getting better with each year, even though I still feel like I struggle a lot, but I know all of you do too. So you're not alone in that. I still have especially a really hard time working full time and keeping full time work. I've applied for disability. I mean, I've had a lot of struggles with my OCD diagnosis, and I also have a bipolar diagnosis. Outside of OCD advocacy, I like to play the Pokemon trading card game and the Pokemon video game, and that's actually how I met my husband. So it's a really cool story. I met him at what's called the Pokemon League. It's like an informal gathering of, actually an official gathering of people who love and enjoy the game and trade cards, collect cards, play the video games. So that's something that I'm really interested in. I've traveled for it. My husband has been to England and played the trading card game over there, and that's quite far from where we are. So I would say my number two things, my two big things about me are number one, mental health advocacy, especially for OCD and related disorders, and gaming.
I love that. Thank you, Summer. And I love how I just kind of lit up when you said that. I love how y'all met. I think you and your spouse, I think it's really, really special when we can do things that are so meaningful to us and kind of connect with others. So I'm excited to hear kind of more about that as we all just get to know each other on the stream tonight. But thank you for being here, Summer, and glad to have you. Lee, would you like to share a little bit with us about you, who you are, your advocacy, all the things?
Absolutely. I talk a lot, as a lot of you know, so I will aim to keep this brief. So as I said, I'm Lee. I'm in Perth in Western Australia. I was a late diagnosis of OCD myself. So I recall my first symptoms from some of my first memories. So a really strong one was when I was 3 and my brother had just had open heart surgery. I couldn't choose the right balloon to take up to him in the ICU, and I didn't realize, and I hadn't connected the dots, but it was because, if I picked the wrong balloon, there was, consequences in my mind. So I struggled with OCD sort of on my own until my 30s, because a lot of my coping skills for it and my sort of compulsive behaviours to do with it were quite subtle. And I managed to do a fair bit whilst being unwell with undiagnosed OCD. And I continue to do well with diagnosed OCD and, new skills and ways to cope with it. So in terms of advocacy, when I realised sort of the lack of services that we have here in Perth, as well as in Australia in general, and really, as Andrew can sort of acknowledge as well, outside of the States, there's really massive gaps. So I decided that I wanted to try to fix that at home and do that in a way that could broaden out into the Australian community and pairing up with New Zealand as well, and helping wherever. So I've joined in with the International Network and Advocacy Group, which Andrew likes to call INAG.
But yes, well, yeah, I call it INAG.
I call it INAG.
I don't know if anybody else does, but I do.
I do.
I will
call
nag
it
you to come to the meeting.
Yeah. And I'm one of the hosts of the Helping Professionals with OCD Special Interest Group. And one of the, proudest parts of my entire life was really being able to say that, at the conference this year, I was diagnosed with OCD in 2022, and I founded my nonprofit organisation in 2023. And as of 2024, we are a fully fledged charity in Australia, and we're a global partner of the IOCDF. So I really like to be able to emphasize to people we can achieve so many amazing things at any stage in our journey. And, being part of the community and promoting community and, all sharing how to advocate in a way that works for you is so important. And so I'm really so excited to be involved in the community more and more as time goes by.
Yeah, and that's great, Lee. I'm sorry to cut in on you, Katie,
go ahead.
say something, but there's this nuance and this balance, right? That we can do so many things, and if someone is watching and listening, and you have been treated for more than 2 years, and you have not founded an international nonprofit, that's okay too. Leah's done something special. You don't need to feel guilty that you're.
I am aware that I have very high expectations of myself, and slowly coming around to the idea of maybe I am quite a special human. Not a race.
I'm hearing you say that. Okay, sorry. That's because I think we all struggle with that, and I think folks in the chat can probably relate to that too. We all see ourselves in different ways, but you are a really special human to do all.
My psychologist has been telling me this for years, and I'm starting to finally come around to the idea.
Yeah. But I think you also said advocate in the ways that are best for you, and you can build a nonprofit. I can talk all day long and just talk, and so.
I can do that too.
Yeah. I'm glad to be given this opportunity. I've tried to write some blog posts. I have struggled with them so much, but some other people, blogging is maybe easy.
We all have different ways of doing these things, and Lee, so inspiring, and I think folks are just so thankful for what you've done for the community, for the international community, and it's a big deal. And I remember us talking at the conference last year about all of these things that you were setting into motion, and it was bananas to be back at the conference this year and have you it's amazing. It's
see the difference. Well, I was thinking the other day, last year at the conference, I'd never had ERP because I didn't have access to it here, and so it wasn't until after San Francisco that I'd signed up with No CD. So yeah, it's amazing what a difference it makes. But Andrew, go on.
Well, and I'll say to you, I see the question before we bump over to Andrew. I do see the question. We are still taking questions tonight, so you are welcome to ask questions about community, post-conference blues, OCD, advocacy, but you can also ask questions about OCD, and we're more than happy to answer tonight from an advocacy and lived experience perspective. So yes, all of the things, we are here to do it together.
Ask me about disc golf and NASA.
Yes.
Yes.
But it might be off topic. I have a group chat with my wife and my brother called NASA's Elder Disc Golf. I'm sure 3 of our favorite things. So
Did I tell you we have a disc golf course where I just moved?
I think you did. I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
so literally, Ethan and I just moved, and literally, like, I don't know, you can't, it's like through the wall, but like a couple hundred feet that way is like a disc golf course, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
I will have to give you like virtual lessons. And
I have no idea what I'm doing. I run on it, so I don't know if that's frowned upon, but I do my trial.
No, that's fine. Totally fine. Just
If
throw
any-
the disc first.
Oh, sorry. If anyone wants to learn about competitive Pokemon and how to play a trading card game or how to play the video game, hit me up.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, it's summer. I love
selfish.
Pokemon. I grew up on it. My wife and I played Pokemon Go for so long, and it's a big part of, holds a special place in my heart for sure, even though I'm not competing at the moment. But
tell us who you are and what you do, Andrew.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Andrew. It is, what time is it now? 1:22 in the morning where I am. I live in Berlin. So originally from Louisville, Kentucky, and oh gosh, where to start my intro? I've had OCD as long as I can remember, but I didn't present in the way that I had seen on TV, like in the show Monk and other things. So I'm not clean. I mean, you can see like I'm not clean. I'm not orderly, but OCD is debilitating, right? So it really took a lot from me over the years, but we didn't catch it for a long time. So first I was diagnosed with just anxiety and depression in college. And then 10 years later, after being in and out of 3 inpatient stays and lots of different therapies, just regular talk therapy, DBT, anyway, finally got an OCD diagnosis. And then went to the Louisville OCD clinic. I did IOP there with exposure response prevention, 3 hours a day, every day for 10 days. Really changed my life. It's still, for those of us that are dealing with it, and maybe we talk about this particularly with the post-conference blues, I would say I had a bit of a spike coming back from the conference. So I'm not like healed, but I have my life back, and I can be in Berlin, and I can go to the lake with my friends tonight, and I can, do so much. But yeah, I think I'm really excited about talking about the community and staying connected. And yeah, so people know we can see the chat on, I think, YouTube and Facebook. Maybe, I don't know if I can see LinkedIn or anything.
Yeah, LinkedIn pops up too from time to time.
Yeah, but not many people are watching on LinkedIn, I suppose.
We usually have like 1 or 2, and I'm like,
Right.
hi.
Sometimes it's me. Sometimes that one is me. Yeah. But yes, hi Mike, hi Nathan, hi Matt, hi Amy, hi Lee over there. I see you over there.
I'm in there, yeah.
I think that's something. How did I want to phrase this? I am so happy for the community that I've made. And so in this, INAG group, Lee and Matt are 2 of the most regular ones, along with Jan and Bianca. I've, Katie, we've had email and Instagram and all that. And finally seeing you all in person. And it's such a big, wonderful community. And I don't want us to make anyone else feel left out of that community because you didn't get to go to the in-person conference or you're not part of a certain SIG or something. And so please, it's this value, it's this catch-22, right? We want to have value and inside jokes and this joy that we have, but I also don't want anyone to feel left out. And you too can join this great community and, come to the conference next year and get to know people in the chat and join some SIGs, whether it's, the gaming one or the INAG one or the faith and OCD. Yeah. So just want to make sure everyone feels included.
There's some amazing sort of connection opportunities. And when I was first diagnosed, that was the big thing that I felt I needed, was to find my peers and find people that understood. And it was, the big driver to starting a charity, because one day, Andrew, I would love to say, someone got diagnosed with OCD and went to their local clinic that know what that means where I live, because it doesn't exist. And one of the big takeaways from the conference where, first day that I was, or like the Thursday, because we'd been there a little bit before, Katie and Ethan walked past and we're all having, lunch together. Or we've decided that we're going to have a meal after some stuff, and everyone is invited at all times to pretty much everything, because it's important. Like, inclusion is so important, and it really does feel like it's, that is what the community is about. So I love that aspect of it, and I love the way the conference runs. So everyone's there, or you're online, because we're doing more and more hybrid stuff. You could speak to anyone. You can approach anyone and say hi. And I love that it's
like Katie's a bit of a celebrity at this point, and like I sat next to John Hirschfeld, who's written books that have changed my life. Sat next to him on the bus on the way to play Topgolf, and everyone's so chill, and it's great, just like you were saying, Lee, that everyone's mingling together, which is really wonderful.
I can say things like, "Oh, hey, Andrew, I don't really want to go to like, what are they called? Theme parks." "Oh, hey, Kat, but I do want to go to NASA. Do you have any interest in going to NASA?" And so Andrew says, "Yes, my brother works there. Let's go." And we had the most amazing day. So you just be whoever you are. It's so nice. You don't have to put anything, like no masking. And that was a big thing for me, like learning about, because I, at the same time-ish of learning about the OCD, I got diagnosed with ADHD and realized how much masking I do. And I was like, okay, well, that's too exhausting. That's coming off then. You can be yourself.
You totally can. And I love Beth. Yes, my cats do the same thing that Andrews just did. So yes, that was the cat's input. And Erica, hi. Hi, everyone who's coming in. I'm going to jump over to actually Summer. So we're going to dive into some questions and some questions in the chat to you. And we're going to just to kind of walk y'all through, because I want what Andrew said to be so true tonight, that we want to talk some about the conference and post-conference blues, and also want everyone to feel included. If you were not at the conference this year, you are still a part of this community, and we are going to answer some questions that already came up about how to get involved, how to advocate, how to join a SIG. So I'm going to pop over to Summer, and I'm going to ask this crew first. If you had any big impactful moments during the conference, so Summer, no pressure. What are some of your big impactful kind of conference moments?
Oh, I had the most amazing conversation with my therapist, who I worked with when I lived in Arizona. So she actually is not licensed in California anymore, so I can't work with her anymore. So she's my former therapist, but she was doing a talk on scripting. So basically, like imaginal exposures, if you're not familiar with what scripting is. And I had a big spike and I was really anxious and I couldn't do the activity initially, but she helped me do the activity. And we just had this one-on-one heartfelt talk about how she's seen me grown over the years, and and also talked about grief. She could relate on a personal level. And then as many of you probably know, I lost my mom about 10 years ago, and it's been very difficult, even still now. So that was like a turning point for me, I think, in my recovery, to where, to be acknowledged by my therapist. I felt very validated, is the word that I would say, coming out of that conversation that I had with her that lasted, I don't know how long, because I was just so into that. So I would say in general, it's those one-on-one conversations that I have with people. And I love going to the sessions. I love learning. I love, like learning more about OCD and how we can get better and all the research and everything like that. But I would say the number one thing for me out of all the conferences has been the one-to-one conversations that you have with people in between. And I know Ethan talks about that too. So I know I'm not the I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way, but like I really like one-on-one with people, or I like speaking in front of a lot of people as well. But just those personal connections are so valuable.
I love that, Summer. I 10,000% agree and would second. I mean, that's by far my favorite too. I could name all of the sessions that I enjoyed, and it's connecting with people like the people on this screen that becomes just honestly the biggest highlight, and feeling seen, and what Lee said before, feeling like you don't have to mask. That makes a big difference. So I wonder, Lee, do you have any favorite highlight conference moments?
I have so many, and because I have been prioritizing downtime and rest, I haven't really consolidated all of my thoughts yet. But for me, there were a couple of like aha moments in the trauma and OCD support group, as well as one of the talks that was on that, which has prompted me to submit an application to join the trauma and OCD special interest group, because there's so many things that, as I've learned more about my journey, I realize are significant, and I learn more about. And so I think that there was some really eye-opening things there. And then I also learned so much in the relapse prevention talk. So I feel like this year compared to last year, which was my first conference, where I'm at in my journey sort of influenced where I learned the most. That was really interesting to see. And then I have so many ideas about what I want to translate from that learning into resources or advocacy or ideas into the future. And I think I've got lots of takeaways, but one of the big ones that I sort of started my thought processes with was someone had made a comment about, doing therapy for OCD is not easy, but it is simple. And I think because when we get information out there, when people are more aware of this condition and more aware of how to treat it and manage it, we can make a huge difference anywhere on the planet. And so I think that was a really amazing quote to hear, and also amazing to think how amazing changes would be if that message was getting across. So that was probably the big thing for me, as well as I love the in-between everything charts, and I'd kind of like to petition to the IOCDF that we have longer gaps in between sessions, because I feel so stressy and want to get to the next thing and not be late. And after the conference, like the day after, poor Andrew was like, do you want to come and do this? Do you want to come do this? And I was like, no, I want to sit in the lobby and let people come and talk to me and not do it.
I thought you were going to petition to have multiple conferences. Well, I know we have the mini ones, like multiple in person throughout the year. And I was like, yes, 10 conferences.
Oh, I'm on board, please.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Hey,
great.
You're opening a can of worms with me and Lee on the call, because we're going to have one in Australia. We're going to have one in Berlin. We're going to have one all over the place.
Yeah. You can have one in America. You can have however many online you like. And you can have one international one, at least, every year.
I am all about that. And especially, I mean, I see folks talking in the chat about just how we get to show up as ourselves. And I see Brooke talking about advocating, being an advocate, having a panic attack, walking through your own ups and downs with OCD and feeling supported and recognizing that we can advocate in the midst of that. I mean, there's something so incredibly special about this. So yeah, Andrew, would love to hear from you. Highlight moments. What sticks out for you?
Oh, gosh, yeah, so many great ones. Just meeting up with you all for a meal and going to NASA with Lee and all that. But as far as takeaways for anyone listening, Lee, similar to something you said, that OCD therapy, which for most of us is exposure response prevention, is difficult, and it's not an overnight thing, so it takes time to make progress. and they're like hidden ones that pop up and all that. But the takeaway was that can take days, weeks, years, but your mindset can change in a day. And that's pretty cool. And I guess I didn't realize that that had happened to me, but then that is great that it could happen to someone in the audience or someone listening today, that I am a problem solver. I come from a family of problem solvers. If there's something wrong, I'm going to fix it. If there's anxiety, I'm going to address it. If there's distress, I'm going to try to do something about it. And I've done that my whole life. And in my intake assessment, which is funny, someone on the chat, we both from Louisville and know some of the same wonderful therapists. But my therapist asked me, like, well, okay, how often do you feel the urge to do something and you just don't do it? And I've told this story before, I'll tell it again. It just never it never occurred to me that I could not do it. If there's a problem, I'm going to fix it. The little things, fidgeting, adjusting, but also if I'm uncomfortable at this party, I'm going to leave. If my clothes are uncomfortable, I'm going to change it. If, whatever comes up, I'll avoid it because I thought I was improving my life. And so that idea that we can have a mindset change in a day of like, oh, I don't have to fix, adjust, avoid. And, later I got the language around it and understood what I was doing was, I was doing these compulsions to fix this anxiety. And actually, if I prevented my usual response prevention, it could really change my life. So that was my revelation again, which I thought was really good. But I'm just gonna throw it out there for the third or fourth time that it was the in-between times. And, sorry to some presenters who I had you in my app, I was going to your presentation, and then I just didn't go because I had wonderful chats with people just out in the hallway or in the booths or something else. So
it happened even within family. I missed some of Ethan's talks, and Ethan missed some of mine talks because we were talking to people. There was one time I was in the hallway, and it was when he really wanted me to be at, and I got a text, and he was like, "I'm 45 minutes into my talk. I'm on stage. Where are you?" And I'm like,
I'm having a good chat.
I liked for the so I'm a perfectionist, as you probably would have been able to work out. And I wanted to go to, the indecisiveness talk, because sometimes I can be indecisive because I'm too busy trying to be perfect at something. And I was really cold because they were blasting the air conditioning down to
I'm sorry, some of those rooms temperature. Some of those rooms were freezing.
Yeah. And so I was very decisive, and I decided I'm not going to go sit in another cold room for an hour and a half. I'm going to go get a hot coffee.
It's funny. I really needed to pee during that talk, and it was about indecisiveness. And I said, same thing. I'm going to make a decision that after this break, I'm going to go pee. Yeah, that was funny.
I love this. And I love folks seeing, again, just how real and raw this is. And it sounds like everybody in the chat who was a part of it kind of had that experience too, where yes, sessions are awesome. And thank you to everyone who participated and presented. And I know everybody here did that also, but there's those in-between moments. And Andrew, what you just talked about, even from a recovery perspective with treatment, I mean, I think back for me to my first conference was in 2018 or 2019. And I was still in just such a rough place with my OCD. And I talk pretty openly now about back at that conference. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want my picture taken because I was so fearful that somebody would know I was the minister with OCD and what did that mean and look like. And I would walk down the street from the conference to eat meals by myself because I was scared I was accidentally going to murder people that I ate with. So I didn't talk to anybody. I stayed in my corner. But I remember going to one particular support group that my therapist told me I had to go to for harm OCD and told me that I had to say something in. And again, it's so interesting to think that was not that long ago. So how far we can come. But I remember hearing from somebody else that they had a really similar theme, a really similar experience where OCD had latched onto some really difficult things in their life. And it was like one of the first switches for me where, yes, I still needed to do ERP and lean into treatment, but it gave me this kind of sense of, oh, wait, I'm really not alone in this. And there's a whole community of people who are doing this really hard thing with me. And I remember coming home, and again, it didn't make treatment like a snap or a breeze, but it like gave me that push that I needed to know, wait, we're all actually in this together. And there's something really cool about that.
I think that's so true. And you realize so many of your experiences where, because I'd kept lots of things to myself for such a long time because I didn't know that it was kind of my norm to have really severe OCD. And just finding out that other people have not only experienced like the same kind of theme as you, but I remember in one of the talks, Chrissy Hodges like listed this sort of thought process that people sometimes would have. And I was like, that's literally the exact thought process that I've had about that exact thing. And I thought it was me all by myself on the planet. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. Okay, cool. People get it. And I think one of the other, like the big takeaway for me from last year was, as a perfectionist and not having access to ERP, clinician driven and assisted ERP, I sort of thought if you're not doing it right, maybe you're just doing it super wrong. But it helped me to understand that if you even like a little change or even one success doing something with your ERP, like that is success. And so instead of being really all or nothing in my head, it turned into like, I'm learning more and I'm trying more and I'm doing so well as I navigate this. And it then gave me the confidence to sort of push that and try to, include it more and more. So it has really become, ERP as a lifestyle now, which is really incredible. That being said, still struggle a bunch, so don't worry. But that was, another really big takeaway for me.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Thank you, Lee. And I mean, I think this whole conversation transitions into, I think, why it's so difficult to leave the conference, right? Or why it's so difficult to say, even if it's not the conference, when we have virtual conferences throughout the year, which we're going to talk about in just a second, about one that's coming up, that if you're sitting here like, oh, how do we connect? We have lots of ways for you to connect. But when we leave, it's like you kind of walk away from feeling seen. In those first couple conferences for me, it was like, man, I have to go back to this place where folks don't know what OCD is and don't know my experience, and that can feel tough. So I want to throw it out kind of to this whole group and kind of have a discussion about what was your experience like this year leaving the conference, getting back into quote unquote reality.
And I think you implied this, but in the chat too, I would love to see what other people felt as well. Mm-hmm. But I have been talking a lot. Summer?
I was going to say, Summer, do you want to jump in? I would love to hear, how did it feel for you leaving the conference and kind of getting back into routine at home?
Oh, well, I got sick on halfway through the conference. So I completely missed Sunday sessions. And that was actually supposed to be my volunteer shift. And I had to step down as well from my volunteer shift. And I missed.
Maybe I traded that for you. Were you the BFERB room? I think I traded that for you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
It was good.
I ended up sleeping a lot, and I was happy to go home in the sense that I needed to get better and rest. But at the same time, I was really sad that I didn't get the full conference experience. And thankfully, it wasn't my first one. So I've been to 4 conferences. Next year will be my 5th. And I can finally get my 5+ conference little sticky to put on my name tag. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, I felt I had that highlight with my therapist that I had talked about earlier. So I felt sad that I wasn't probably going to see her for another full year. And all the advocates that I only get to see once a year, I was sad about that too, because we live in different parts of the country, and some are international, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's just like leaving this, yeah, like saying goodbye to family, some or really close friends who are, like close to you and mean a lot to you. And yeah, it's but then there's this feeling too of like, well, I'll get to see many people next year. And also, I wanted to talk about something, like I know not everyone can make it to the conference, and that's totally okay. There are ways that you can get involved through these live streams, and also through your local affiliate if you have one. I know SoCal OCD SoCal is really involved. And we have like these little mini speaker series that I was a part of at one time, that they're like little mini conferences, and some places do that. So there are still ways to get involved. I really wanted to say that because I know it can be a bummer to not be able to go to the conference, especially because of finances. And my finances are extremely tight, so I barely was able to make it. I had to split a room in order to afford it. So just know that you're not alone, and there are other ways that you can get involved too.
Thank you, Summer. And we're going to shift, or actually we're going to spend probably the last half hour or so, we're going to talk all about ways to plug in and get involved. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because we want folks to know you're a part of this community and we love all of you. In talking about kind of how we felt after just to name a few things in the chat too, because I think this is great. I saw, let's see, Beth, from being at the conference, it was a push for me knowing others are going through the same thing. It gave me confidence to be able to go further than I ever dared to go. And GH said, I literally caught myself deciding if I should do a compulsion. Something very powerful, being around so many experts and fellow sufferers, gave me the courage to allow the uncertainty. So cool. Like what a cool conference experience. But then post, I see Spence at 7:45 say, I would describe my post-conference experience as a kind of bittersweet afterglow. Deeply relate to that. And then I see Tegan at 7:45 saying, OCD flared so badly. Thankful for my therapist because I'm already doing much better. Tegan, you are so not alone in that. I've talked to many people who have experienced that. It was something I always braced for my post-conference OCD flare-up. Yeah. I see Andrew, so I'll go to Andrew. I would love to hear what Andrew's like, yes.
Yeah. So and again, I didn't know what it was for a long time, but I've been to a lot of conferences in my life. I love conferences, actually. But growing up in Kentucky, we had the Kentucky YMCA Youth Association would put on these big like model UN conferences and these other things. And then at university, I would go to these research conferences, leadership training conferences. And I noticed a trend that after every one, I would be really down and tired and sort of out of it for a bit. And so it happened again. Part of it is also jet lag, which Lee, I'm sure you can attest to as well.
You know how I handle jet lag, Andrew. He tried to call me 4 times and I was fast asleep.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, Tegan, definitely not alone. And I think, there are two sides. One is, I think a lot of people, when you have this, like, what's sometimes called like a mountaintop experience almost. So it's this really joyful, you're feeling connected and meaningful in ways you haven't in a long time. And then all of a sudden the next day that's gone and you're just sort of back to everyday life. That in itself is very hard. And I think even when I was doing non-OCD conferences, that was tough. And like, oh, I miss everyone already, and when we're going to meet up and all that. But also something that I'd been learning through like this great group out of University of Bath. I did this research study with them. And part of it was talking about, and where to start the sentence. Disclaimer, these things are not frontline defense for OCD, but focusing on your sleep, focusing on your diet, and focusing on like your well-being and all that is really important for you to be able to fight OCD, I think. And whenever I come out of these conferences, and I don't know about you all, I had a wonderful time, but I stayed up late and I wasn't sleeping in my bed and I maybe didn't sleep right. And so I'm extra tired and I ate hotel food and then I ate junk food and then I ate airport food and then I also had jet lag and then my connection is my emotional connection is missing because I would hang out with Lee every day and then all of a sudden I don't see Lee anymore and we're in another place. And so it is expected, actually. It's not abnormal to, after this highlight experience, and also just a new experience, that your resiliency might be a little low, that your body, your state. And so, yeah, I definitely resonate with that. Just personally, I've noticed some of my depression higher, some of my anxiety higher, some of my OCD higher. But it's nice to have that framework now and to say, yep, that makes sense. Yep, okay, I can line that up with that. Yep, okay, yeah. And then you play the maybe not game. Maybe I'm dying from some disease I caught, or maybe I'm especially bad at managing OCD and I just presented at this conference and now I'm dealing with it. And it's like, oh, yeah, funny about that. Well, I'm gonna go to the lake today, and then I'm gonna go to this call tonight, and you move on.
I love that we're letting, and I'm watching folks support each other in the chat too. I love that we're letting folks know that they are not alone in this experience. And Brooke, one of our IOCDF advocates too, thank you for sharing how intense OCD got following the conference. And it's so brave to share. And also, I want you to know we are absolutely with you. And you are among, unfortunately, not lots of friends where I don't want everyone to struggle post-conference. But I love what Andrew said. I think we kind of get on this big mountaintop high and we're surrounded by people. And I'll speak for me. I go to bed at like 9 o'clock. So we're going to get off this live stream and I'm like done. At the conference, I'm like, let's stay up to 4 and talk to everyone, right? And like, let's eat all the ice cream. And it's like, it's a totally different routine than we're used to. So yeah, we come off of that in that way and just kind of are coming down. And I also think there's a lot of triggers at the conference, even if we're not recognizing it in that moment. Travel in and of itself can be triggering. I always say when we're out of routine, OCD packs its own suitcase and comes along for the ride. But at the conference, we're going to sessions that are so uplifting. And we're also hearing about lots of different themes. We're hearing about lots of different manifestations of OCD. We're supporting other people around us navigating OCD. And I think even if we're not feeling it in that moment, that can be inherently challenging. And after the conference, at least for me, it sometimes feels really tough and I'll have a spike or have themes pop up that haven't popped up in a long time. I will say for me, and then I want to hear what Lee has to say about this. This was a weird post-conference year for me. I'm just going to like name it and be super honest. Every other year post-conference, I have had the worst like OCD possible week ever where I went back and was like, I'm a murderer. I'm all the things. I need to go to jail. Like, all of my old stuff has just kind of come out of nowhere. This year, I had like one day of it felt really tough. And I met with my therapist and was like, I'm going to give myself a lot of compassion. I did some really hard things. I'm going to take some space to let it soak in, to not try to feel okay this week, to expect it to feel really bad. And in doing that, it was really strange. Last week was probably the best OCD week I've had like in years. And I actually attribute that to so many things happening at the conference and having to engage in response prevention and being inspired by others to engage in response prevention. And it was, I know I talk about ERP all the time and I believe in it and I know that it works, but it was this weird reminder for me last week of, oh, this thing that you talk about every day, it works when you do it. Oh my gosh, my OCD is so small this week. So it was kind of a different experience for me than it's been in past years. Lee, would love to hear from you what that experience has been like for you.
I've just been finished. I'm finished getting told off by my dog who wants me to give her a treat. She barks at me when she looks at me and licks her lips, and she's like, "I'm making it clear to you what I want. Why are you not moving, human?" For me, another thing that I figured out last year that was so helpful was after the conference, I had another few days before I was coming home, and I really wanted to do this little sort of hike solo from Sausalito back over the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's a long way to walk. And before I did it, I actually looked at it on Google Earth to be like, how kidnappy, murdery, sex trafficking is this route in America that I'm frightened of. And I was brave and I decided I'd do it anyway. And it was so good to have this whole day of just walking, listening to music, looking at the, nature around me and some really cool sights to sort of consolidate all of the stuff that I'd learned and the thoughts that I'd had. And so I was really looking forward to doing that this year, because I found it so helpful last year. Hence why I was like, no, I'm going to sit in the lobby like a blob because I want to start my consolidation process. And it was too hot to go hiking. And I feel like that the concept of just having that headspace and allowing yourself that rest after the conference to think about it and to get back to your normal, whatever that is. And for me, that included a 50-hour transit to get home. And you would think that I had a whole bunch of time to consolidate thoughts, but no, it was naps and Olympics because I was, not in the right spot yet to do the consolidation part. And so for me, so much of it is about listening to what it is that I need and being compassionate about where I'm at. And I really love that Andrew had mentioned, eating well and trying to optimize your sleep, because the thing that I didn't mention earlier is that my alternate life is that I'm a medical doctor. And so when I'm talking to my patients about, whatever issue that they're struggling with at the time, those basic things are so important. And so that's really, was my plan when I got home. I wasn't doing any work for, the week after I get back. And I'm going to fill the fridge with all the healthy stuff so that I can, fuel myself, because, it was a lot of either eating a muesli bar because I didn't want to not be wherever I was and actually go and eat properly, or eating at strange intervals. You guys have ginormous meals, which is also something I have difficulties with. So just, getting back to those things and enjoying nature, even though it's winter here and it's not as wonderful as I would like. And having those boundaries to sort of say, okay, so I'm going to have this time off and prioritize this. I don't mind that my suitcase is still, in the laundry and half sorted, because I'll do that another time. And I've got a bunch of stuff that I need to get to, life-wise, like sending a whole bunch of emails and sorting out some work things. But I'll do that when I'm, when it's the right time to do it. And up until probably last year, that's not a thought process that I was used to having. It was, how could I be sitting in bed watching Netflix when it's daytime? I need to get up and do stuff. Or, I've learned all this new stuff at the conference and I need to, get on top of all of these things right now. But I don't, and I can rest. it's way more beneficial. So, those are my thoughts and my post-conference approach. I also suggested to a little group that from people that we talked to at the conference, I was like, anybody want to get like IOCDF, OCD conference, now we're all friends, tattoos?
I was wondering if you were going to say tattoos.
We're just going to figure that out.
My
So
wife
just,
is a tattoo artist. She did.
yeah.
Maybe next time she can come with me and we can have a little session.
Oh, yeah.
I'll submit it as a proposal. Tattoos.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Impulsive tattoos, yay!
I feel like there's going to be a little like disclaimer, like this is not sponsored by the International OCD Foundation.
Yeah.
Our logo tattooed to your body.
Have like, you know how with the Road to Recovery tour, we do like a consent form and a waiver thing because we're leaving the venue. We'll do like a consent form for like, I am a grown up, and if I choose to do things to my body, like it's a choice that I've made for myself.
I love that.
Well, I do, before we move on, I wanted to highlight something Lee said that I think is important in this framework of post-conference, because this was true of the leadership conferences and research conferences and this as well, that we learn so many wonderful things, you know, probably hard to count, 20 things, 30 things, 50 things. We have all these amazing conversations, and I have had the experience before, and I think I'm having it now. It's just this wave of just positive things, but I'm not, the important thing is then to take an actionable step with it, right? So I'm learning all about the importance of ERP again and going the full way and not leaving anything out. I'm learning the importance of connection and these international things. But often in the past, I've just had all this, and then it just sort of slowly fades over the coming weeks and everything. So I think a really important thing is to have some action steps. You know, some of it is action steps with connecting. It sounds, you know, like and subscribe, but actually, yeah, a lot of, I would say, my progress in the past year or two has been because I connected with people on Instagram and Facebook and followed podcasts and things, and I learned along the way, and that encouraged me to go to conferences. So I think that's good, connection-wise, and then therapy-wise, you know, maybe talk to your therapist about it, but a great lesson or two, maybe limit it to 3 things. That was, as you can tell, I think Lee and I are more of the talkers of the 4 of us. And I, at one point, got the advice, Andrew, you have like 10 great things to say, but maybe you should say like 3 of them. Oh, okay.
I will say I'm a talker too. I've just gotten good at when I'm moderating these. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
to speak. I can talk all the time, and I'm actually so glad that y'all are speaking, because we don't get to hear you all the time on live streams, and this is so good.
Yeah.
I don't like shut up ever. So I'm being so controlled right now.
You should have heard me and Lee in the car.
Such a great job. I just saw Michael say ride the wave, and I wanted to say, I have so many of these now. They're the ride the wave from the octopus.
Feel like a Lee and Andrew international podcast. I'm going to transition questions, but ponder this. I think it could be interesting.
Excellent.
I was going to say, like, to what Andrew was saying, I felt like a huge part of the motivation to get my charity up and running was like harnessing all of that positive, you know, feeling from the conference and that motivation I felt. And then there was also a thing that I think a few of us were talking about this year, where sometimes like we get mad about stuff with OCD and with like, you know, lack of access or lack of understanding or, you know, experiencing discrimination. And I always laugh because I'm like, so much of my achievements have been rage fueled, and that's totally fine. So
it is,
because you share that with the planet,
right? Like you get passionate about it. 10,000%. Well, I want to make sure we transition for these last 25 minutes or so, because we keep saying like, oh, there's so many other ways to get involved and we want you in community and all the things. So, and Andrew, I mean, you transitioned us really well in even talking about post-conference, kind of having a plan and action items, and that can involve community. And I want to start by just going to each of us and talk about what are ways throughout the year that you have found it to be the most meaningful to get involved in the OCD community or with the IOCDF or virtual conferences or SIGs or anything else. I keep saying SIG, so for anyone who is listening who is like, what is that? I will say there are lots of ways throughout the year to get involved with the International OCD Foundation. We have live streams like the one that you're on right now, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern or at 4 Pacific or at 1 a.m. Andrew's time, or at 9 a.m.
7 a.m. Lee's time.
Yeah. But and then Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then we also have special interest groups. There are countless groups with different areas of interest, from helping professionals with OCD to esports, as you all heard earlier, to faith and OCD, to so many different things to connect with individuals. And we can drop the link for special interest groups here. There's also virtual conferences. We have lots of mini virtual conferences, from the Faith and OCD conference to the BDD conference to OCD Kids Camp to the Spanish conference, all the way to the fully virtual conference that's happening in November that some of you recognized earlier. The proposals have been extended to next Monday, so you have not missed them. I am so glad, because none of us were ready. So thank you, IOCDF from on high. We were not in a good place. But there's lots of ways. We want you to get involved in all of this. And I'd love to hear from you, Summer. What are the things that help you throughout the year stay connected in community?
I like to participate in all of the walks. So there is an OCD walk that's generally hosted during the summer, and different affiliates around the country. And I'm not sure what's like on the international scene, but have these walks that you can attend, and you can volunteer for them. You can, like start a fundraiser and raise for, like maybe there's a particular person you're supporting with OCD and you'd like to start a page for them. You can do that. You can form teams. And so that's something that I like to do, as well as OCD SoCal, like I mentioned earlier, is actually, from what I understand, the most involved affiliate of all the affiliates. So we have, I know we have like a web series. Chris Tronson is a really good contact for more information about OCD SoCal if you're in that area. But we have our own version of the online conference that other people can join from anywhere, as well as those who live in the SoCal area or just California in general. So we have that. We have had a speaker series. So basically just about every single event, that major one that the OCD SoCal puts up, I like to go to and be involved in. It's to stay connected. And what's been really cool is seeing these relationships grow over the years with certain people that I see coming to the same events, and also meeting new people. So like I've known Chris Tronson for a few years now, at least, and so like seeing him, because he's the one who like organizes. I can't remember what his title is with it. He can say himself, but he's the one who really heads everything. And so like getting to see him consistently is really neat, because I don't get to do that. Doesn't happen with all the other advocates. Also, I've been actually a part of a few, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Discord. I've been a part of a few Discord servers who are just for people with OCD. And those are just connections that I've formed throughout my journey. When I've one started through NoCD, someone just started posting like, hey, I have this Discord server for people with OCD. And so I joined that. And there's only been a few of us, but it's actually really nice when it's only a few people. So you get to connect with them and kind of keep each other keep each other accountable too, and just kind of understand where people are coming from. So that's been really helpful for me as well.
I love that, Summer. And just
I wonder if we're in the same Discord or not, but
you
we'll
might
try
be.
later. There you go.
And I see Amy, thank you for putting in the chat too. Yes, research symposium, that too. There's so many things. And Summer, I'm so glad you highlighted the walks and also the affiliates. And OCD SoCal is one of the most active affiliates. We have affiliates all over now. And here's the really great news. If you look in your location and you do not see an affiliate, you have a really great opportunity to potentially start an affiliate. So those things exist as well. And the same is true with special interest groups. I mean this when I say this, because I said this at my last presentation at the conference, that anybody who is interested in figuring out an advocacy group or a SIG that wants to start it, and you have ideas, please reach out. A lot of people have taken me up on that, and I'm working through getting back to them. So if you want to take me up on that, it may take a little bit, but I will get back to you, because we want to support you starting anything that doesn't exist yet so that you can be a part of community. That's what all of the SIGs and all of these things came out of.
Oh, I want to quickly comment. Someone mentioned in the chat that they'd be down to join a Discord for people with OCD. I think it would be amazing if we had one for, because a lot of the same people show up to the town halls. If we had one for like this community, that'd be really cool.
That's a great idea.
I love that. Thank you, Summer. Thank you. Well, Lee, how do you stay involved throughout the year?
I do all of the things. So I wanted to ask, am I allowed to plug my organization a little bit while I answer your question?
You were great. I was gonna mention stick with the ick too, because I'm like, we're talking about community. Like, go for it.
Yeah, there are other organizations as well. I think that's something that they do in the UK. Right? You can use other things too, but these are also great.
So I was gonna say, like, the things that Summer had mentioned, absolutely. Like we've already done a walk this year in Perth, and I'm going to organise another one for OCD Awareness Week. Like this special interest groups are amazing. I spoke with Uma when we were at the conference, and we're kind of thinking about maybe starting a new one. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh wait, are you allowed? Is this a secret? Can you give us a hint?
She really wanted to have a space for people who work in. She called it the hard science. So like for specifically researchers, as well as like medics, because our thought processes are that there's, a real lack of understanding in industries that really should have better understanding because of the knowledge that they have. So we'll have a chat about that. Uma's on my list of people to email, so I have to talk to her about it first. But with my organisation, it really is about sort of making a space for people to know where we are and what we're doing and to connect. So I do a lot of different things. We've got online meet and greets that we host every second month, and they're called OCD in Australia, but everyone's allowed to come. They're not necessarily the most helpful time for people in the States, but they're not too bad because it's co-hosted with Kim Quinlan, who's in California. So the timing is appropriate. So it's Kimberly, myself, and a guy called Martin Ingle, who has OCD. He's a filmmaker in Australia. So we have one this weekend, which is Friday evening for the people in the States. So you can have a look and join us if you'd like to there. It's really just sharing things and staying connected, and, people that I have met, messaging them and following stuff up. And I think what I'll do, I'll make a comment in this thing about, where you can find our website and our Instagram. And I'm happy to put my email up there as well, because I know that someone had said earlier that they had, wanted to catch up a bit more at the conference, but didn't get a chance. So am I allowed to put emails up on the chat?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Just thought I'd ask. I'll do a little post, and everyone feel free to get involved with anything that we do. It says OCD Western Australia, but it really is OCD Australia, OCD Australia, New Zealand, I joke, OCD Southern Hemisphere, OCD International. You can be anyone from anywhere and join what we're doing.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, and if folks want to connect after, you can always reach out to me or to info@iocdf.org, and we can connect you with any of the panelists too for plugging in any way, because we're in this together, and we want to support all of this awesome work.
Yeah.
And then Andrew, how do you stay involved in community throughout the year?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, and I think it's also clear, as we said before, to each their own ability, or however you want to stay connected. And so, like, I, Matthew Bannister right there, Matt, he stays connected by being on all these all the time. For me, I love them, and I just can't make them all, and I don't know. That's one thing, but other people are really into blogging, and they can write blogs, and then they go and they read blogs and then do all that. Other people are really into social media, and I think that's sort of where my connectedness lies. Well, we'll see. I'm on Instagram, maybe too much, maybe the right amount. I don't know, but for me personally, that's actually where a lot of my connectedness is. So, we can say everybody can have their opinion about whether it's good or bad, and I have mixed feelings, but,
Kind of gray.
yeah, it's in the gray. But, like, Katie, you put out great posts, and Lee, now I'm following OCDWA, and I try my hand at some stuff sometimes too, and there are a lot of other great advocates. Some we've mentioned, like Kim Quinlan, has a great Instagram with your anxiety toolkit. Alexandra Reynolds has a great one. Like OCD Excellence, OCD Doodles. Like, there's so many that, like, it just every now and then we'll see some content. I'm like, yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah. And it's funny, like, there'll be days where I start to doubt if I have OCD, and then I'll see like 5 things in a row from other OCD advocates, and I'm like, yep, oh yeah, okay, yep, that one too. So yes, please, I guess I can plug myself. You can follow me at Just Right, but right is spelled wrong, so it's JUSTRUGHT. Some great podcasts out there. Katie, you have a great one. There are other ones that were mentioned in the chat. The new one from Callie and
Yeah,
Liz
Callie and Liz Mackingville's podcast is awesome. Anxiety Society.
Yeah, so I just started listening to that one, and then your anxiety toolkit. So I guess, like, consuming. There's podcasts, there's social media, there's blogs, there's books, all that. And then producing, I guess, you can sign up to be an IOCDF grassroots advocate. And that's how I started. Someone told me about the conferences and group therapy. So that's one thing you can do, is just talk a lot about this. Just tell people, yeah, I heard about this conference thing. I don't know. I'm really thankful to an anonymous person who told me about this in group therapy one time. So talk a lot about it. Sign up to be a grassroots advocate. Through that, there was an opportunity to apply to be my OCDF advocate. Like Lee and others have said, you can work with your local affiliate if there is one. So if there's a local nonprofit, if there's a local official IOCDF affiliate. For those of us in the international scene, there's some global partners. Or if you don't have a global partner in your country, you can try to start one. So that's a fun way to...
My presentation at the online conference, starting a charity in 6 easy steps.
Yeah. So we're it's not too late to present at the next conference, to try to do that. You can volunteer. I've volunteered at the kids camp for the past 2 years, and that is a ton of fun. So it's really, it's well run. They're great. And so that's another way to get connected. Or just keep doing what people are doing in the chat here. I thought it was so cool to see people say, "Oh, good to see you again. Good to see you in the chat again." Like,
we have the same, like we have folks who have been, and I mean, I love everybody here, and especially I'll say for community conversations with Ethan, there have been folks that have been on here like every week for like
it's
4
like
years.
their regular thing.
And it's so cool. It's such a
Yeah.
community. And I always say, you know, we're advocating even in doing that too, and in showing up for each other in the chat and knowing each other's stories. I mean, all of this is
Yeah, somebody asked someone else, like, how are your crabs doing? And I just loved that. Like, you've gotten to know each other well enough to know about that, to follow up on that and all that. And yeah, and then, you know, tangentially off on that, get to know each other. You know, everyone, you know, with consent that, you know, you're sharing your socials and everything. Sorry, you all, I am so tired. And the melatonin is kicking in.
It is now 2:20 in the morning for
Yeah,
Andrew.
But I think what I'm trying to say, connection community is so important. And that's what got me to the next conference, is having community. Like, I don't know if I would have signed up for it if I didn't have the community. And then at the conference, I learned a lot and I grew my community more. And it's a positively reinforcing cycle. So then I had more contacts that I stayed in touch with over the past year, and seeing them and seeing people going, I'm going. It's like, that's what inspired me or gave me that extra drive to go. And so start that reinforcing cycle, go to an online conference, and then make connections, be friends with everyone, go to the in-person conference. Hopefully we'll see you all in Chicago.
I think it's a really cool community, you know, when we have these lives, because I'm not always able to come to them timing wise. Sometimes I'll be getting ready to go to work. Sometimes it's, you know, in the middle of the night for me. But when I do join them, everyone is so welcoming immediately, and it's like this wonderful little free dopamine hit. You know, people will comment and say hi and check in with you, and it feels so good. And so I think that's why, you know, it is such a wonderful community, and that's why people, you know, who've figured out to make the most of that and to really kind of be part of it in whatever way works for you. It helps. It feels like, it just feels good.
It does. It's an amazing community of humans. And I mean, everybody on the stream here, everybody leading a SIG, an affiliate, an organization, running a social media page with all the awesome advocates Andrew talked about. I mean, and beyond, it's just, and all of you here in the chat, it's just, it's a very cool community. And I sometimes find myself really emotional thinking about sometimes the state of the way that folks interact with one another throughout the world, and then within our little community, what that looks like. And I always see it through the lens of interfaith work and faith and OCD, and but with so like with our faith and OCD conferences, or with the SIG, or Stick with the Ick, for anyone who got all the silly putty at the conference that I was handing out. It's my faith.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, actually, I will say my highlight of the conference, I take back everything, was after when people sent me pictures of their kids at home playing with Stick with the Putty. It like made my life. But I run a faith and OCD community app, and we have over 600 Ixters in it now, of folks kind of on this faith and OCD journey. And one of the things that baffles me in the best way is over 600 people from all different faith backgrounds around the world that I watch support each other compassionately and lift each other up each and every day. And to your point, Andrew, ask about pets and ask about, you know, family members and how we're doing. And
how'd that trip go? And how was that surgery?
I might be biased, but I think this community is just the best community of humans in the world. And I always say, like, I don't like OCD. I wouldn't want to have OCD, all of that kind of stuff. And also, I wouldn't trade any aspect of this journey for anything, especially because of this really awesome community.
Well, I think it's something we talked about a lot at the conference and a lot of these one-on-one conversations, but in some panels as well, that I think as we learn these tools to get over OCD, um, for me at least, it's learning, oh, the rules are made up. All these rules I had about the color red and about emails and about afternoon sunlight and like all that's made up. And then I can apply that concept again. And Summer, I wonder if you can identify, like, I love Pokemon, and there were times where that was uncool and people sort of bullied because of that. And now I like paint my nails as well. And like all these other things where the rules are made up. And I think, different people, we're not saying every member is going to be super kind always, but I think as we learn that for OCD, I think we also learn that for each other, that, whatever you want to be, ultra marathon runner, Pokemon, disc golf, Lee, I'm not sure what your quirky habit is other
I
than
want to be a stay-at-home dog mum,
No, yeah.
and I want to just do gardening and pottery.
Yeah. So
I think whose line is it anyway? Where the rules are made up?
The rules are made up and the points don't matter. Yeah, it's just so true. And I think also it has been really, really hard on us. And sometimes when people have things really hard, they say, I had to work hard to get here. I don't want anyone else to take it easy. But I feel like all of us say, I had it really hard. I don't want anyone to have to deal with that ever again. And I think that built some compassion. So yes, long story short, I think this is the best community.
Yeah, it is. I do not have certainty about a whole lot, but I'm pretty darn certain this is like the best community ever. So period, end of it. It's proven. I know we're in the last couple minutes together and I have some wrap up stuff, but first just want to go around to Summer and Lee and Andrew again and just say any closing words for the community about staying connected in community, or just any words of hope that you have for folks tonight. So Summer, do you have anything you want to share with the community as we close out tonight?
Recovery can be, it can feel pretty slow sometimes, but that's okay. Like it's felt like that for me. I have a number of different diagnoses, and I am still living in the mess of an apartment, for example, and I'm trying to clean that up. It's been taking me 4 years. It's taken me a long time, but I'm learning to have some self-compassion and accept that like everyone's recovery journey is different, and like this is what mine looks like. Like I can't do the things that Andrew does right now, but he's also had his own battle with OCD. So just keep hanging in there, even if it feels slow for you sometimes.
Thank you. Thank you, Summer. And thank you for being here with us tonight and for all of your wisdom and insight. Thank you. Lee.
I have so many different things that I want to say, but I'll do one because that was what was requested of. And look, Andrew, I'm doing one.
Lee's like following instructions. Check. I can do it.
I do like following instructions as well. I think one of the big things for me that is about, my OCD, the OCD community, ways in which I'm kind of adjusting my own work that I'm doing, is this concept of belonging. And I really feel like we're such amazing people when we are in this community, no matter where we are on our journey with it, and if we're having a great day or if we're having a really bad day. And so just that concept of, you belong, full stop. Like there's no caveat. You belong.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You should just end the call and just not say anything.
Yeah.
I know, but I want to hear what Andrew has to say, and I need to tie it in a bow and read all of my announcements. So
yes. Yeah. Oh gosh, same thing, Lee. I have a lot of things I want to say, but I'll end just sort of, I think, Lee, where you and I are a lot now is really wanting to make the capital I in IOCDF a little bigger. So this international stage, and I'm from the U.S. and IOCDF is in Boston, and incredible work in the U.S. and it is growing internationally, and I think part of that is a chicken and egg thing. And we have people on the chat here that as more and more people internationally learn about it and we can provide more support, and of course I love the IOCDF and I'm part of it, but there are also, maybe not but, and there are also other organizations out there. So OCD Ireland, I mentioned, OCD Action, OCD UK. There's one in Jakarta that's being built. Of course, all the great work that Lee's doing in Australia. So, please start reaching out to those. And I love collaboration and connection. So maybe we can all start bringing that together. And because they're best practices that I think we have a very US-centric view of it, and I'm learning more and more that there's so many perspectives. And so anyway, if anyone is watching from outside the US, please connect with us and let's see how we can continue to grow in the next 5 years or so.
Thank you.
And go to bed, Matt, and me too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you too. I have this really strange desire for us all to break out and dance and sing "We're All in This Together," but we didn't choreograph it.
Together.
I wish we would have choreographed it, but next time, y'all, we will do a part 2 just for that dance. I love this. So, and I love what Amy said for us too at 8:30. You belong and you are accepted here, no matter what lies OCD tells you. So all of this. Thank y'all so much. So just give me 2 seconds here. Want to note that the IOCDF is a donor-supported nonprofit organization. Please consider making a donation at iocdf.org/donate so that we can continue all of the awesome things that we were talking about tonight. We also encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I know I mentioned that there are streams going on all the time. The next one is actually right back here tomorrow, Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And it's going to be with our Career Achievement Award, Alec Pollard. So if you heard about the amazing things that he has been doing in our community and watched him get the award at the IOCDF conference, you won't want to miss tomorrow with Alec Pollard, who's going to be on with Chris and Liz talking about all of his awesome work and having a great Ask the Experts. So in light of that, just think, yes, 1:30 in the morning. No, is it 2:30 there now, Andrew?
For Matt, it's 1:30. For me, it's 2:30. So I win the pity vote, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I have lots more that I would love to say, but in light of it being 2:30 in the morning, Andrew's time, we're going to close out. Thank you all for being amazing, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Katie.